Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. In this quick little video, I'm going to show you how to create your own bias strips from just a single piece of fabric. And I'm also going to show you just quickly how to use your rotary cutter. So it's really important to use these safely so you don't cut yourself or miscut your fabric as well. But more importantly, you don't want to cut yourself. Anyway, stick around. I'm going to show you how to very quickly cut your own bias strips from just a piece of fabric with your rotary cutter. Okay, to do your bias strips, we've got a single layer of fabric, and all we need to do is take any kind of ruler where you can find a 45-degree angle. So you can see the 45. So you can see the 45-degree line on my ruler just there. Now, what we need is to just lay out the fabric flat and take your ruler and put the 45-degree line on the straight grain of your fabric. So run it along your selvage edge there. And look, it won't matter if you run it along your torn edge or your cut edge. So that 45-degree line here is just straight along your selvage there. Now you can see that if I start cutting this, I'm actually cutting way back into here. So I'm going to go over a little bit further so I can get the most out of my fabric. And there's my 45-degree line. And normally I would just go and cut this straight away with my rotary cutter, but I'm going to mark it with a pen so that you can see the lines that I'm drawing. So there's my first line. Now, in this particular instance, I want my strips to be 1 1/4 inches. So I'm going to mark my 1 1/4 inch. So I've got 1 inch there and 1/4. So you can see there's 1 and then there's 1/4 inch there. So I'm lining up the 1 1/4 inch part on the line that I've previously drawn. So I don't need to worry about this line anymore. And the line that I've drawn is just along here, and this is my 1 1/4 inch mark. So I'm just going to draw another line like that. So that is 1 1/4 inches apart, and however many strips you want, you'll just continue to do that. Line up the 1 1/4 inch onto the next line and keep on cutting like that. Okay, if I wanted to come on this side and go make smaller ones, I've got my 1 inch and 1/4, and just continue to mark my lines like that. Now, as I said before, I usually just go and cut my fabric. So you can take your ruler. You can actually go and scissor cut this now if you want to. I'm just going to take my ruler and cut that straight across. This doesn't distort the fabric when I cut like this, as well as being a lot quicker. The other thing you'll notice when I'm using a rotary cutter and ruler is that I'm not cutting toward myself. It's really dangerous to do that. I run the risk of cutting myself or in my leg or thigh. And also what I'm doing is I'm cutting and walking, cutting and walking, and that gives me more control over the ruler each time. And just another safety tip is when you're using a rotary cutter and a ruler, you don't want to have your hands down flat like this and cut. If you have your hand flat and you're cutting along and then you slip, you're going to slice your fingers. If you have your hand like this and you slip, you can get your hands out of the way much more easily. So the best thing to do is to walk your hand up the ruler and cut gently. And of course, remember to close your blade. So we're ready now to take this to the machine and join them up so that we can have one long continuous strip. If you decide you need more strips, you don't have to go and draw the lines that I'd shown you earlier. You can just take your ruler, measure up the 1 1/4 inches, and you can just keep on cutting, and be careful not to let your ruler slip. Sewing your bias strips together is easy. So what we want to do is overlap just like that, and from the corner to the corner we're going to sew. So I'll mark this in. So your sewing line is this line here. So we've got the intersecting corner here, and we'll go down to the intersecting corner just here, and we're going to stitch on that line. So there we've stitched from corner to corner, and when you open that out you can see that your bias strip is nice and straight. So we can trim this off. And we'll just finger press that open. So there we've got really nice straight bias edge, and we can go and do exactly the same for the rest of the strips. So if you're working with plain fabric like this, you want to make sure that you're actually lining up your fabric the correct way, otherwise you're going to have your right side and your wrong sides all over the place. So just make sure when you put your next strip down that you are actually going to make it sit on the right side. So by having this piece over the top ensures that it's going to be on the same side as the previous one. So you can just get your ruler and make a mark again. Now if you're confident, you can cheat. Put a pin there to keep it in place. Mark your intersecting corner there and your other intersecting corner here. And when you're sewing, you'll start here, but you're actually looking at your finish point, because this is such a narrow piece. Looking for your end point ensures you're going to be sewing straight, because we don't want to be looking at our needle as we're sewing. So I'm watching my intersecting point rather than where my needle is. There you go. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and do that for all my pieces. Okay, now I'm just going to take this to the iron and just press those seams down. I hope you've enjoyed watching this little video on making your bias strips. In an upcoming video, I'm going to show you how to actually insert the bias strip into the neck edge of the garment. So on this particular blouse, I've just put a bias strip on the edge of my neck, and I've also done it on the armhole edge for a sleeveless blouse. So watch out for the next video. It'll show you how to actually insert your bias into a neckline and the armhole. If you've liked this video and you'd like to see more, give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe, all of that jazz. And if there's anything you'd like me to show you how to do, any techniques or tips, put a comment down below and I'll read it, answer it, and get you a video made. Catch you next time.